What's going on, guys? This is Tower number 9, and we are coming to you here with a game between two less conventional decks. So, on the left side here, we have Loopee, I believe, who is playing Grand Inquisitor yellow. And on the right, we have Alino, who is playing a Thrawn blue deck. So, Grand 30 HP with the more recently previewed Shopper base here. Cool art. I think this is a base that the Rebels were using in Star Wars Rebels, the TV show. And Grand Inquisitor here, action. Exhaust to deal 2 damage to friendly unit with 3 or less power and ready it. Loopy leads off the game with a Viper Probe Droid, 2 cost 3/2 when played looking at an opponent's hand. Basic unit, but fairly strong, and some nice art there too. I think that's a very cool little piece of art for the Viper Probe Droid. So then we're going to have a look at Alino's hand. He has a Cartel Spacer, Jabba the Hutt, a TIE Advanced, and Bosk. Alino is playing Grand Admiral Thrawn. When the action phase starts, look at the top phase of each player's deck. As an action, you may spend 1 resource and exhaust to reveal the top card of any player's deck and exhaust a unit that costs the same as or less than the revealed card. He will deploy at 6 resources, as Grand Inquisitor will, but while Grand Inquisitor is 3/6, Thrawn is 3/9. Alino is going to play the Cartel Spacer that we saw earlier, 2 cost 2/3. When played, if you control another Cunning unit, which he does not, exhaust an enemy unit that costs 4 or less. So the base here for Alino is the Security Complex. Epic action, give a shield token to a non-leader unit. That is a only 25 HP base, though, rather than the 30 HP base being used here by Loopee. Loopee swings in for 3 damage with his Viper Probe Droid. Alino taking a look at the top cards of each deck with Thrawn's ability, and we see a 5th brother on top there. Could be potentially useful for an exhaust. I'm going to keep it a little zoomed out so I can see that more easily when that effect is being used. Okay, so then let's see what happens here. Looks like we could see some space units being deployed here, and that is what we're going to see. So the Inferno 4 played here by Alino, 2 cost 2/3. When played or when defeated, look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Put any number of them on the bottom of your deck and the rest on top in any order. So he's now going to be looking at those top cards and deciding what to do with them. Searching the top 2. Looks like he's bringing a shoot first out to send to the bottom of the deck, and the other card is being left on top. Boba Fett Disintegrator hits the field, 3 cost 3/5. On attack, if this unit is attacking an exhausted unit that didn't enter play this round, deal 3 damage to the defender. Alino is now going to play a standard TIE LN fighter, 1 cost 2/1, just very basic vanilla unit here. So right now we're already seeing the beginnings of a situation where each player has the advantage in one arena. Loopy uses Grand Inquisitor's ability, deal 2 damage to a friendly unit with 3 or less power and ready it. Inflicts 2 damage on Boba Fett Disintegrator and readies him up. So Boba can now potentially swing in for 3 damage to Thrawn's base here. Boba swings on in for that 3 after the Cartel Spacer for Alino swings in for 2 damage. Right now, Loopy is looking ahead when it comes to a race, which is only exacerbated by the fact that Alino's base only has 25 starting HP, whereas the base being used by Loopy has 30, so there's only 19 HP remaining over here and 28 over there. On the other hand, Loopy does have an advantage in the ground arena, but the space arena has 3 separate ships for Alino. We could see the TIE Advanced played here, buffing another one of their ships. We could see a takedown to take out one of Boba's units. It's going to be the TIE Advanced. So 4 cost 3/2. When played, give 2 experience tokens to another friendly Imperial unit. And we have a a big board here. The 2 experience being given to Inferno 4. So now a 4/5, and if it's defeated, Alino will get to look at those top 2 cards again and do some more filtering. So he then tries to put it on Cartel Spacer, which is not correct. I point out that Cartel Spacer is not a valid target. They're kind of discussing potential targets, and they end up putting it. Loopee was suggesting to Alino that he put it on the normal tie instead, and he did so. That makes it less vulnerable to the waylay that he has in hand, I suppose, or also less vulnerable to the exhaust. We could see a Cartel Spacer hit the field there. 3 to base from the Viper Probe Droid. By the way, if you're wondering why my hair looks crazy, it is because I'm wearing headphones here. In fact, there we go. That is more straightforward. We'll pull the hair back here. Okay, so then we see a 5th brother hitting the field here. 3 cost 2/4. This unit gains raid 1 for each damage on him, +1/+0 while attacking for each damage on him. And on attack, you may deal 2 damage to this unit and 1 damage to another ground unit. And now 5th brother is going to be readied up by the Grand Inquisitor, which means that is 2 damage is also 2 more points of raid. So a lot of damage being pushed here by Loopee. Alino is really in some trouble here, I feel. He's definitely losing this race. With a 25 HP base to begin with, uh, his opponent was already kind of in the lead on that race, and additionally, we've just seen more damage in that ground arena. Ground units tend to be a little bit more efficient. So right now, Boba can swing for 3, Viper can swing for 3, 5th brother can swing for 4 or 5s. That's already, that's lethal on the board right now. Alino needs to counter. A second Cartel Spacer hits the field. 2 cost 2/3. When played, if you control another Cunning unit, this time he does have another Cunning unit, you can exhaust an enemy unit that costs 4 or less, and he exhausts his opponent's 5th brother. Hmm. 3 to base with a Viper Probe Droid. No good to me dead, I think, will likely be seen here. Or maybe just Thrawn's ability. Alino's in desperate trouble. I think he really needs to be focusing on controlling the board rather than focusing on doing damage. No good to me dead, exhausting Boba Fett. All right, so we can potentially see Grand Inquisitor's ability being used here, but it doesn't have any good targets. So no good to me dead actually prevents a unit from readying for the whole round. And that means that Boba can't be readied by Grand Inquisitor's ability, I believe. Normally in these games, cannot trumps can. If that turns out to be wrong, my mistake, guys, and please correct me in the comments below if that's an incorrect rules interpretation. All right, what do we got here? So Alino has 3 +4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 damage to the base in his hand or on his board. So he could get this base down to 9 life, but he's still going to be in the weaker position. Loopy's considering which option to take. So one thing he could do is deploy a cartel spacer and exhaust one of Alino's units, then potentially use Waylay to deal with another one. He could also just play his Jabba the Hutt, strengthen his ground arena further, and if he draws a shoot first, he could potentially use it to win the game. But it looks like he's going to go for the cartel game at the start of the next turn. That is. Sorry about that, guys. Cartel Spacer hits the field here. So 2 cost 2/3. When played, if you control another Cunning unit, exhaust an enemy unit that costs 4 or less. Exhausting the buffed TIE Fighter, Inferno 4 does 2 damage to Loopy's base. This Waylay could be used to send another one of Alino's units back to hand, or Loopy could even just take the initiative here. He does have a substantial advantage. Grand Inquisitor. So Loopy tries to use Grand Inquisitor to ready the Boba Fett, but I point out in the chat there that I don't think that works. I believe No Good to Me Dead says the can't ready this round, I believe actually applies to this. And I note that the reminder text says can't ready this round, including during the regroup phase, which means that which implies at least that it applies to effects outside the regroup phase as well. Yeah, so Loopy Alino grants the take back on that since it would damage the unit and do nothing else. And instead it's going to be a waylay on the tie advanced. I'm not sure that's optimal. So the reason I worry about this is because by returning the tie advanced to hand, this does mean that Alino is going to be able to use that when played effect again to give out 2 experience tokens. It might have been better to remove one of the ships that didn't have that. On the other hand, he did save as much damage as possible. Ooh, now the ability from the Inquisitor being used to ready up the Cartel Spacer, but Alino uses Thrawn's ability, spending 1 resource and exhausting to reveal the Count Dooku on top of his deck and exhaust the cartel spacer there. 2 costs a lot less than 7. Or 2 cost is a lot less than 7 there. So that's an exhaust. I believe the initiative there was taken by Loopy, and we're going to move on to the next turn. Alino is in desperate trouble here. What he really needs is some kind of sentinel unit that can potentially stabilize the situation in the ground arena, but he's not seeing it. He's just not going to be able to do it. So Loopy swings with Fifth Brother, hitting the base for 4. Missed opportunity here. He could have played the shoot first that he has in hand, used the on attack to deal 1 damage to himself and 1 damage to one of his own units. And by that method, he would have actually done 2 more points of damage, one from the shoot first in hand, and one because he would have an additional point of raid for having another damage on him, which would actually destroy the base in 1 shot. However, it looks like it's not really going to matter because Alino just swings his tie into the base, not having any sort of major thing that could control this whole board, and Loopy is going to get the win. So that is a victory for the Cunning Grand Inquisitor build over the Blue Thrawn deck. I feel that the Blue Thrawn deck here, I think, was sort of on the back foot when it comes to these races where one player has one arena almost completely and the other player has the other arena almost completely, in general, the player in the ground arena has a bit of an advantage compared to the player in the space arena because units in the ground arena have more stats. Um, However, this advantage was so this advantage was on Loopy's side, and then there was an additional advantage on Loopy's side, which is that Loopy was playing this 30 HP chopper base, and Alino was playing the 25 HP security complex, but didn't really have an opportunity to get value out of this shield. So ultimately, the Loopy had two big advantages when it came to an aggro race. Not only did he start with more base HP, but he was also racing in the arena where units are more efficient. So that was ultimately a pretty strong victory for Loopy. I believe the players might be sideboarding now, and we'll see what happens in the next round. Alino is actually a player I am somewhat familiar with. I believe he ran a Discord server for the Star Wars Legion miniatures game, which I once played. I haven't been as active in that community recently, but as we were messaging about setting up this game, and I we Alino stumbled over a some messages from like 5 or 6 years ago that we had sent with respect to Star Wars Legion. So kind of a funny scenario there where we'd run into each other from a previous game, and after some time find ourselves encountering each other again in this new one. And it's actually kind of funny, there are several people that I know in this community that are from other games. So I know there are you might I've run into some people that I know. I think Star Wars Legion has been a big one. A fair number of people from the Star Wars Legion community have been trying this one out. So I know Endless, that runs the Yavin Base stream, um, and Prairie Pirates, who is also a Star Wars Legion player, have been playing some Star Wars Unlimited. Now Alino has as well, and there's also some people that you might recognize from other games, like some people that have played L5R or other games from Fantasy Flight, for instance. So kind of an interesting state of affairs to see different people, that you may know from other contexts showing up here. I've played a few games before, and it's always funny to run into some familiar faces across several different titles. So one area that I think this game is heavily drawing on is actually people from the Star Wars Destiny game, which was kind of a hybrid game. It was sort of a card game, but it also had a dice rolling component, which I personally did not play, but I know some people who did. And I think that game had a similar kind of alternating back and forth system, which really is kind of a hallmark of some of Fantasy Flight's designs. So I've played several of Fantasy Flight's competitive LCGs prior to playing this game. And so Warhammer 40K Conquest LCG had a lot of back and forth, both in deployment and in the way that battles worked. Then L5R LCG had a lot of back and forth, again, both in the dynasty phase and the conflict phase. So lots of different design hallmarks from some of the past Fantasy Flight games, I think, uh, coming to play here as well. Okay, it looks like they're getting these resources readied up, and let's see what we got. Alino, having lost the first game, Alino is going to go first in this one. That's kind of a just a little etiquette thing. Typically in this game, if you lost the previous game, you get to go first, or I guess choose who goes first in the next one. First is a popular choice, but there are some situations we might choose otherwise. Alino is going to lead us off with Inferno 4. When played or when defeated, look at the top two cards of your deck, put any number of them on the bottom of your deck and the rest on top in any order. Ooh, and it looks like Loopy has missed his turn one play. So Loopy mulliganed his original hand and unfortunately mulliganed into a hand without any one or two cost unit. So without anything to play on this first turn, he just takes the initiative. That is a slow start for Loopy. And Alino is maybe gonna begin with the advantage here. Let's see how this goes. Okay. So this turn we could see Loopy play the Boba Fett disintegrator that he has in hand, or the disabling Fang Fighter. He could also potentially waylay his opponent's Inferno 4. On Alino's side of the board, it looks like it's either going to be a waylay or a Boba disintegrator, though Loopy is still making his resource decision, ends up resourcing that disabling Fang Fighter. So this disabling Fang Fighter that he resourced, he actually had one of these earlier as well. This is a interesting card, a 3-cost 3/2, where when played you may defeat an upgrade. Boba Disintegrator hits the field for Loopy, And Boba Disintegrator hits the field for Alino as well. Both players playing the same unit. This is a very strong unit. Boba Fett Disintegrator, 3 cost 3/5. Those are above the curve stats. Normally, like 3 cost 3/4 or 3 cost 4/3 would be considered on curve. And he has a pretty strong ability on attack. If this unit is attacking an exhausted unit that didn't interplay this round, deal 3 damage to the defender. Pretty solid. Solid enough that both players are playing it. Initiative taken here by Loopee, and Alino swings on in with Inferno 4 for 2 damage. First damage inflicted on either side this game. So now we're going to move on to the third turn. Right now, the overall fields are relatively similar, but Alino does have a bit of an edge. We'll have to see though. Loopy has 2 copies of Force Choke in hand, which could be a solid counter to his opponent's Boba Fett. Looks like it's going to be Jabba the Hutt that we see this turn instead, though. So Jabba the Hutt, 4 cost 2/8. Each trick event you play costs 1 less. When played, search the top 8 cards of your deck for a trick event, reveal it, and draw it. Put the other cards in the bottom of your deck in a random order. Loopy draws the cards into his hand, and the only trick event he sees is a shoot first, but shoot first is a trick event, so draws that into hand and will be able to play it for free thanks to the discount there from Jabba the Hutt. A tie advance hits the field here for Alino, giving +2/+2, +2/+2 with those 2 experience counters. Those will have to be given to Inferno 4. It would be probably more beneficial to give them to Boba if he could, but Boba Fett is not an Imperial. Ooh, and Loopy uses Grand Inquisitor to ready up Jabba the Hutt. And while that does deal 2 damage to Jabba, Jabba's 8 HP means that he can sustain that and keep on going. So, nasty situation there for Alino maybe with Loopy now pushing some damage in the ground arena. Boba Yeah, Jabba the Hutt pushes 2 damage to the base. Boba Fett here in a bit of an odd spot. Boba hits the base for 3. So the thing here is his opponent's Boba Fett. So his opponent's Boba Fett could attack his Boba Fett and clear him. Loopy points out that that move might be an error since it would allow his Boba to be cleared easily by the opposing Boba and suggests using the security complex instead. A gentlemanly play there. Gentlemanly recommendation there from Loopy, and the sorry guys, bit of a cough. The security complex gives a shield token to Boba Fett. Let's see what Loopy chooses to do in response. Now Loopy is kind of in the same situation. If he attacks with his Boba, Alino's Boba can clear him out. Oh, it's a standoff. Loopy passes. So now Alino can either take the attack and let his opponent's Boba attack with the advantage, though his Boba would live thanks to the shield, or he can take the initiative and end the turn. He goes for the initiative. The 2 Bobas, one on each side of the board, kind of staring each other down. So Loopy there tried to attack for the base for 3, but I point out no, if you take initiative after a pass, the turn ends. This is a rule that I think people often forget because, as I understand it, it was not this way in Destiny. But in Star Wars Unlimited, if one player passes and then the opponent takes the initiative, the turn is over, and the player who passed does not have the opportunity to take further actions. That means that passing, while sometimes it can be useful if you're trying to kind of stall your opponent, wait for them to make their moves, and sort of slow roll the turn, it can actually lead to a lot of problems for you because you might find that the opponent is just going to claim initiative, end the turn early, and then have an advantage for the next one. So it's a tough scenario. We are now on 5 resources on each side, and that means these bosks that I see in both hands could be entering play this turn. For Alino's side, Alino does have the initiative. I think you want to maintain the Boba standoff here with your shield, maybe, and start swinging in space. Probably my first action would be a swing with Inferno 4 before it could potentially get exhausted or bounced. No, okay, that's another reasonable play. That's another very reasonable play. A cartel spacer hits the field and exhausts his opponent's boba. Okay, if you control another cunning unit, exhaust an enemy unit that costs 4 or less, that sets it up for his boba to get the kill. But Alino plays a 2-cost waylay, discounted because it's a trick. It costs 1 less with Jabba's ability. Return a non-leader unit to its owner's hand. So Alino's boba sent back to hand, and the shield there lost before he could swing and defeat Loopy's boba. Interesting standoff we've been seeing in the ground arena, but Alino still has the advantage in space. Let's see what happens here. There's 3 resources left. Alino's best move with those resources might just be to replay the boba that just got bounced back to hand. I think that first, though, he probably wants to make some swings with his space units before they can potentially be further disrupted. A general rule of thumb in Star Wars Unlimited is that if you have ready units and your opponent can potentially mess with them, it can be good to swing with them before that opportunity, before the opponent takes that opportunity. He ends up replaying Boba first, which I think, not a bad play, but I don't think it's the right sequencing. I think it would have been better for him to push damage in space first. Looks like he's actually taking it back, maybe rethinking what to do here. The players are kind of discussing this. Loopy asked, why didn't you attack? And Alino says his thought process is that he wants to leave his space units ready in case Loopy deploys a space unit. He'll have his units ready to counter. I don't think that's a terrible idea, but in this case, I'm not sure it's the right play. And so now we see 2 resources for a no good to me dead. So this is why it would have been good to attack with Inferno 4 earlier. This no good to me dead is going to exhaust Inferno 4 and it can't ready this round, including during the regroup phase. So that buffed unit is going to be essentially out of the battle for 2 turns. The TIE Advanced does take the opportunity to swing for 3, but that's potentially 4 damage that Loopy could have gotten from Inferno 4 and is now going to miss out on. Jabba the Hutt there swings in, inflicting 2 damage on Boba and taking 3 damage back. Without much else to do, I think it's Alino's time to take the initiative. I do think Alino has maybe been forgetting some Thrawn triggers. Oh, nice move. Grand Inquisitor used 2 damage to Jabba and ready him, and then he plays the free shoot first. Attack with a unit. This would cost 1 normally, but it's free because Jabba reduces the cost of tricks. It gets +1/+ power for this attack and deals its combat damage before the defender. So in this case, even though Jabba would normally have been defeated, he deals his combat damage before the defender and clears out Boba instead. Nice play there from Loopy. I hadn't considered this before, but Jabba the Hutt seems very synergistic with the Grand Inquisitor, given that he has a lot of health and a low attack value, putting him in a good position to have that ability used on him. And the discount and search there are useful as well. Bosk takes the field and picks off. Bosk takes the field here and picks off Jabba the Hutt, but he can of course just be removed here by Boba Fett. Oh, but it's actually going to be a counter Bosk play. It looks like Loopy is sending in his own Bosk to defeat Alino's Bosk. So Bosk here, 5 cost 4/5 ambush. After you play this unit, he may ready an attack an enemy unit. When you play an event, you may deal 2 damage to a unit. Inferno 4 there was not attacking. He just remembered that it's still exhausted. So it looks like there's not going to be a lot else for Alino to do this round. So this is actually a case where it might have been beneficial for him to use Thrawn's ability, but I think he's forgotten it. He might have been able to exhaust that Boba before it attacks. That also would have been favorable to do before deploying Bosk because it would have meant He could have avoided. Oh, wait a minute. What am I saying? Both leaders deploy this round. I had almost forgotten. In fact, I had forgotten. Grand Inquisitor hits the field. 6 cost 3/6 on attack. You may deal 1 damage to another friendly unit with 3 or less power and ready it. So that could be readying up Boba there pretty easily. Additionally, because Grand Inquisitor is a force unit, the force choke in hand here now costs 1 less to play, another source of an event discount, which means that Grand Inquisitor can potentially play that force choke for 1 to deal some damage to Thrawn once he hits the field. Cartel Spacer just goes ahead and swings into the base for 2. Boba Fett hitting Thrawn's base for 3 damage here. Thrawn's ability, no, not Thrawn's ability. A TIE fighter hits the field. Once again, we have a swarm of units in the space arena for Grand Admiral Thrawn. Maybe fitting for his character backstory as a Navy man, but it is a situation where we might be seeing a similar dynamic to last game. This time, Alino's ahead in the race, though. Grand Inquisitor on attacks Thrawn's base, deals 1 damage to Boba and readies him. Boba swings in for another 3 damage to base. Thrawn hits the field, so Thrawn is a 3/9. He has that same ability to look at the top of each player's deck at the start of the action phase, and on attack, he can do the exhaust ability that he has normally, but for free. Alino has Thrawn take out Bosk, and I think that's a good play. Removing Bosk there is really solid because the extra damage that Bosk can inflict can be a real problem. However, Loopee could now potentially force choke Thrawn and get him off the board. Joking in chat there, Loopee says willing to buy Outmaneuver. So Outmaneuver is a 3-cost event that exhausts all units in 1 arena of your choice. It would be great here for Loopee because he could play it to exhaust all 4 of his opponent's units there in the space arena. Initiative taken by Loopee, and it's a pass from Alino. No outmaneuver drawn. If he does have it in the deck, it's not showing up. Alino with a formidable Space Force and with Thrawn to potentially exhaust some of his opponent's stuff. But it is Loopy who has the initiative here. Let's see what he does with it. Personally, I think I might well have force choked Thrawn at the end of that last turn. He didn't end up doing it, but I think it might have been a good move. I don't know. Let's see if he could force choke Thrawn right now. That's a valid play at this junction. Boba swings into the base for 3. I guess this means there wasn't a 6 or higher cost unit that could be used to exhaust Grand Inquisitor. Another TIE Advanced hits the field, a giant swarm of Imperial fighters in the space arena here. Uh, buffing up the buffing up Grand Admiral Thrawn with 2 experience and making him a 5/11, though it's actually 5/7 right now with the damage he's already taken. Fifth Brother hits the field. 3 cost 2/4. Raid 1 for each damage on him. On attack, you may deal 1 damage to this unit and 1 to another ground unit. That's a high priority card to remove for Alino. Might actually be worth playing one of the waylays that he has in hand. Or just having Thrawn attack and clear that unit. I think I would just have Thrawn kill that, honestly. The risk of that being readied up by Grand Inquisitor is a problem that you do not want to deal with. Yep, and that is exactly what Alino does. I think a good play. Thrawn takes out Fifth Brother. And I guess there isn't a 6-cost unit because it sounds or a 6 or higher unit because he is not using his ability to exhaust the Inquisitor. Inquisitor swings into Alino's base for 3, also readying Boba to swing in for another 3. We could see a waylay here to send Boba back to hand, preventing him from swinging in for that 3 damage. I would probably do that. You want to buy time here, I think. Yeah, waylay on Boba, Boba back to hand. He can, of course, just be replayed, and this actually removes damage on him, but it's also buying Alino more time. And Alino has a lot of damage in the space arena to consider. He can do 2, 6, 9, 11 damage in the space arena this turn, leaving his opponent very close to defeat. Let's see whether or not Loopy can bring it back. A 7th Fleet Defender hits the field, 3 cost 3/2 with shielded. When you play this unit, give a shield token to it. So that shield token putting the defender into a spot where it can maybe deal with some of these smaller fighters. Force choke on Thrawn. Thrawn off the field, so forced choke. If you control a forced unit, this event costs one less to play. Deal 5 damage to a non-vehicle unit, and that unit's controller draws a card. Looks like Alino has forgotten the draw at first, but Loopee reminds him of it. That is mandatory, yeah. 5 damage to a non-vehicle unit, that unit's controller draws a card. Drawing an Asteroid Sanctuary could be very relevant against that Inquisitor later. Loopy takes the initiative, and now Alino's remaining fighters swing into the base, another 3 damage, and then 2 damage, and then another source of 2 damage. Loopy's base down to only 5 HP remaining. I think Alino might be poised to get the win in this match, or at least in this round of this game of the match. I don't know whether Loopy is going to be able to do much to. Okay, so wait, Loopy can actually win in 3 actions. So if he no wait, okay, so he would have to attack with the defender first. That's 3 damage. Then he attacks with the Inquisitor for another 3 damage, uses his ability to damage the defender and ready it. But the problem with that is that it doesn't like the defender can then just be picked off by one of Alino's fighters. I don't think it's actually going to get the win. It's not looking good. It's not looking good for Loopy here. Defender swings to the base, or no, he's rethinking it. He's got an Asteroid Sanctuary, maybe. Yeah, he can use the Asteroid Sanctuary he has in hand to exhaust the buffed fighter. Yeah, that's what he does. So exhaust an enemy unit, give a shield token to a friendly unit that costs 3 or less. So Inferno 4 is exhausted, another shield added to that defender. The problem is he still loses in just 2 attacks from Alino. If Alino attacks with one of his tie advanceds here, his remaining fighters are poised to close the game shortly after. If I'm Alino, I'm just going straight for the face. No, he waylays the tie defender. That is actually a fairly good play, returning it to hand, but he doesn't need to make it. He should just be pushing damage. Loopy, however, concedes the game at that point. Alino's fighters are in place to destroy the base, and Loopy doesn't have a counter, and he's fallen a bit short on his efforts to destroy Alino's base here. Ultimately, interesting game. Loopy missed the first turn play, and okay, so Loopy asked Tower, you want to hop in? I got to do a work call for like 20. I would have had them play the third game, but I think instead I will jump in. That means we'll call this video here for now. Maybe there'll be a third game for me to record later, but for now that's gonna do it. So we're 1-1 between Loopy and Alino with Cunning Inquisitor versus Blue Thrawn. Ooh, okay. Loopy offers me to pilot game 3. Okay, I'll take game 3. That sounds fun. So Loopy's got to take a call. We're 1-1. We're gonna see whether or not I can jump on in there and finish this game. Finish this game with a win for the Imperial Inquisition. So So I'm gonna jump from the observer seat to the red player seat, and I am now in command, switching cameras here. I'm now in command of the Grand Inquisitor against the Blue Thrawn build. So having seen these games play out, I believe that Alino has a lot in the space arena, and I need to be mindful of that as a potential threat. So what can I do? What can I do to potentially deal with that? Okay, looking at this starting hand, I don't know what the density of 2 drops is here in Loopy's deck. So I'm using a deck that I'm not familiar with, but it looks like this is a pretty good hand to me. There's some solid options here. I want to keep the Fang Fighter because I know my opponent has a lot of space. I really like Force Throw. It's a really good card, but I think in this situation I want to mulligan it because I don't see a Force unit immediately apparent. Waiting for the Grand Inquisitor on 6 resources seems too late. So I'm going to resource that, and then of these cards, I like this stuff here. These are good cards. I think we're going to end up. I think we. I think we end up resourcing Jabba just because he's more secondary. And I'm going to lead us off by deploying a first, or by playing, I need to stop saying deploy for that, a first Legion Snowtrooper. 2 cost 2/3 while attacking a damaged unit. This unit gets +2/+0 and gains Overwhelm. Deal excess damage to the opponent's base. Let's see what Alino has to do. Alino is going to play another Inferno 4 here. When played or when defeated, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put any number of them on the bottom of your deck and the rest on top in any order. I think that's been his starting play in all 3 games, and it looks like he's going to put one on top, one on the bottom. I could use Grand Inquisitor to damage my Snowtrooper and ready him. That would be a quite aggro thing. Let me think about this match. I am the aggressor in this matchup because my opponent has less HP on his base and I have an aggro ability. So we're gonna do it. We're gonna be focused on pushing damage to the base. I have an article coming out that will explain this a bit more, but I think this is how I want to play it. So we're gonna be focused on winning a race here. Let's see if this pays off. Okay, so then we're gonna pass, draw up. Okay, so Ruthless Raider, this is a good card, but for later in the game. Asteroid Sanctuary is a good card. I mean, Asteroid Sanctuary is just a good card. We're gonna resource the Ruthless Raider here, just because it's kind of slow for where we are in the game right now, and we're gonna be focused just on pushing damage to the base here if we can. Alino has the initiative. Ooh, it's Del Miko. That's actually kind of an annoying unit for me. So Del Miko makes events that I play cost 1 more. So in the event that, no pun intended, sorry guys. Uh, in the event that I wanted to play Waylay, it would not work out here. What we're gonna do is play Boba Fett Disintegrator. So Boba Disintegrator here, 3 cost 3/5. We saw a lot of play from him previously. Inferno 4 swings in for 2, and what we're going to do is use this opportunity. So let's see here. I could take the initiative, or I could just push with the Snowtrooper. I think I want to take the initiative here so that I can just clear Dell with Boba. Yeah, so if I attack with the Trooper, he does 2 damage, but then Dell attacks and kills him on the first action of the next turn, healing the base for 1 and getting my unit off the board. So I think I just take the initiative. Or no, wait. Okay, I took the initiative, but it was a misplay. So what I should have done here is, or no, I guess it's fine. No, what I should have done though is hit the base and then hit Boba and had him hit the base as well, maybe. So what I did here is like a little more conservative of a play and not, I think, what we most need to be doing. I do see another Boba, an Asteroid Sanctuary. These are not the cards I most want to be seeing here. Let's think about how we'll resource one Asteroid Sanctuary since we have another. So I'll then lead off this turn with Boba attacking and defeating Del. Um, so that is going to just get that off the table. So now I can play events for normal cost. And my opponent can't easily kill my Snowtrooper. Ooh, it's Jabba the Hutt. Each trick costs 1 less. He gets to search the top 8 cards of his deck for a trick, reveal it, and draw it. So the tricks that he has access to are going to be Waylay and Shoot First. Quick selection there. So the annoying part about this is that I could waylay Jabba, but it would actually maybe lose me some value because Jabba would then be able to use his ability to um Jabba would be able to use his ability when played again and get another trick. It was a shoot first there. Okay. So then let's see here. Man, I really should have been doing more damage to the base, I think. I'm a little worried about this. So what we're gonna do is I can't play this Boba because he's unique, or I could, but it would kill my existing Boba, which I don't really want to do. We'll do a basic move first. We'll send the first Legion Snowtrooper into the base for 2. Okay, so then I could deploy this Fang Fighter. I could actually deploy Boba, defeating my existing Boba, then use Grand Inquisitor, then swing again. The other main option is to play a Fang Fighter. I could also waylay, but it doesn't seem good. We're going to be crazy and aggro. So I'm going to play Boba Fett. That defeats the Boba Fett that I already had in play. Then I use Grand Inquisitor's ability, dealing 2 damage and readying him. And because he's only taken 2 damage, Jabba can't defeat him in 1 hit. Now the thing is, Jabba can still clear him with shoot first, but you know, I got 3 more damage to the base, and I'm focused on damage to the base. That's my emphasis right now. So if Jabba uses shoot first to take out my Boba, so be it. Let's see how this goes. I am definitely playing this a little risky here, I think. I do have this Asteroid Sanctuary, so maybe I can exhaust Jabba depending on what my opponent does. I don't want to play the Waylay this turn, unless my opponent has a tie advanced, in which case I do. We're going to get rid of the Fang Fighter. I'm not interested in going to space right here. I'm interested in pushing damage through on the ground. Yup, he goes for it. Jabba taking down Bobo with the shoot first. That's one of those things. Sometimes things like that happen to you. I'm going to take the opportunity, more damage to base. The, we're going for the base. That is the plan. 5 resources for probably a Bosk here. Yeah, Bosk taking out my first Legion Snowtrooper. Bosk takes 2 damage. I am not in a great spot here, but I can do some things. So what I'm going to do is we'll play Fifth Brother. So then I'm going to be able to damage him, ready him, and attack for even more damage to the base. We are very base focused right now, because we basically have to be. My base takes 2 damage. I'm going to use the Grand Inquisitor, 2 damage to Fifth Brother, and ready him. This means that he'll be able to attack, use his ability to deal 1 damage to himself and 1 damage to boss. Here, we'll use the onboard decal tokens because that's what my opponent's using. It'll look consistent. Opponent takes the initiative. Okay, so uh we're gonna have him attack, use his ability, do 1 damage to Bosk. And then my main swing is going to be hitting the base for 5. And then we are additionally going to deploy. So I could actually play an Asteroid Sanctuary here and shield my Fifth Brother, which would allow him to hit the base for another 5 on the next turn, potentially. Um, the main problem is I lose the exhaust side of the ability. I think we deploy. Hmm. I think we. Yeah. But he can still kill him if he has a shoot first with Bosk. We're gonna go ahead and play the first Legion Snowtrooper here instead. That might be wrong. I am not familiar with this deck. I'm just playing as best I see fit, and don't know if we're gonna be getting the win. So okay, Cartel Spacer can't actually exhaust here. That's kind of negative, but I have some tricks. Have some tricks up my sleeve. Let's see if I can do something with them. What I'd really like to be seeing now is more stuff that's gonna help me just do more damage. That's what I really want. I just want more damage. I'm low on damage. I want to see that Raider that I exhausted earlier. I want to see cards like that. Oof, brutal play. Double kill, both my units wiped out by that shoot first. That is nasty. Yeah, both my units taken down by a shoot first from Jabba. Not what you want to see. I am going to deploy the Inquisitor because that's about all I can do. Grand Inquisitor, his ability here is not relevant. I should have actually played that Cartel Spacer here because then I could have readied him with the Grand Inquisitor's ability. Yeah, I should have played that Cartel Spacer for sure. Thrawn takes the field. We're gonna do a no good to me dead exhaust Thrawn for this turn, and he can't ready this round, including during the regroup phase. I'm feeling behind. I managed to get a bunch of damage to base, but I don't think I managed to get enough damage to base. My opponent still has a lot of resources. 4 resources. What are we gonna see? Tie advanced. He can give 2 experience to someone. Probably gonna be no. He's gonna buff Thrawn. Okay, he might have it might have been better to buff Inferno 4, but I could have removed it with Waylay. So Thrawn's gonna be a bigger problem for me in the future. Grand Inquisitor just gonna swing for the base. The base is the place. A normal tie hits the field. I could play this Waylay. I could play this Asteroid Sanctuary. Um, is Waylaying my opponent's Bosk here good? It stops 4 damage, and he doesn't have the resources to replay it. But then he could just take the initiative, but there's not much that he could do to stop me. Yeah, I think I do actually want to waylay my opponent's Bosk here, send him back to hand, so return a non-leader unit to its owner's hand. That'll prevent me from taking 4 damage either on base or on Inquisitor. Then 2 damage to my base. I take the initiative. The lone Inquisitor here, staring down the fighters strafing his base. Thrawn and Jabba the Hutt standing against him. All I have is this Inquisitor, but maybe, just maybe, I'm going to be able to get something going with him. Opponent passes. Draw up. Nice. A Bosk of my own, a 7th Fleet Defender. Those are some solid cards. Let's see what I want to do this turn. It's probably going to be... So, Asteroid Sanctuary doesn't shield the Inquisitor. Thrawn is still exhausted this turn. My opponent could replay his Bosk. I think what I want to do is play the 7th Fleet. Oh, so hang on. If I play the 7th Fleet Defender, I can then use the Asteroid Yeah, that's what we're going to go for. We're going to go for 7th Fleet Defender. Shields up. 3 cost 3/2 with shielded. Nice. Jabba hits the Inquisitor for 2. This is so now Bosk is poised to kill the Inquisitor. But what we're gonna do here is we can but the problem is this isn't gonna quite work out because I'm gonna lose my shield. One of his space units can pick me off. I don't like that. So what I have to do here is swing the Inquisitor for 3 and decline to use his ability. The reason that I'm declining to use his ability is because if I use it, so now Boss will come and kill my Inquisitor. That's straightforward. Yeah, so Boss takes out my Inquisitor. But now I can play an Asteroid Sanctuary, exhaust his tie advanced, and give an additional shield to my tie advanced. And hopefully he won't be able to clear my unit. Oh no, he plays a 2 resource waylay thanks to Jabba. That's a big setback for me. Okay, well, I've taken the initiative already, so all I can do now is just take the damage from his fighters. I think I already took the initiative, but I'll say it again. Oh, I guess I didn't actually say it. That 2 resource waylay discounted with Jabba might be my end here. Okay, and the security complex being used for a shield on who's being shielded? Any non-leader unit. Best target is probably Bosk or Jabba. He shields the advanced. Okay. Well, okay, I desperately need to draw something that will help me stabilize. I really want to see a Raider here. I could kill Bosk, get the Raider on the field, 2 damage to base, put my opponent in trouble. Didn't see it. Okay, but I have a shoot first. I can't use, well, no, maybe I could use that. We'll see. I think I'm not in a winning spot this game, but we can do the Seventh Fleet defend. No, wait, we can do Bosk. How much damage does my opponent have? I have 18 hit points remaining. My opponent has 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 plus 5. He has so my opponent has exact lethal, so I have to stop at least one of his units this turn. So I'm probably going to have to use this Cartel Spacer or use Bosk. So Bosk can pick off my opponent's Bosk. The problem with using Bosk though is that it then puts me in this position. Okay, so what we're going to do is Seventh Fleet Defender into Cartel Spacer. That's the game plan here. So Seventh Fleet Defender is going to hit the field again. Put that shield up. And then the cartel spacer can potentially exhaust a important enemy unit. Okay, so the tie advanced hits my base for 3. The cartel spacer can hit the field and exhaust an enemy unit that costs 4 or less. So we will exhaust. I guess we'll exhaust Inferno 4 here. Jabba swings for 2. What I'm gonna do here is use my Grand Inquisitor to damage my cartel spacer and ready it. My opponent could trade with that TIE fighter to clear my cartel spacer, but if I can do this damage, I can then take initiative, and if my opponent doesn't remove both my ships, I win. Oh, but Thrawn has yet to attack and can maybe just exhaust me. Didn't realize didn't realize that Thrawn aspect. Yeah, he's gonna reveal his top card and just exhaust me anyway. So my play there is easily countered, unfortunately. I'm gonna just take the initiative and hope for the best. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm still alive, but let's see if he can do some more damage. Boba Disintegrator. I need to top deck a surprise strike. If I top deck a surprise strike, I win. If I don't, I lose. Can I do it? No! Surprise strike missed. That's going to be the game. I can do the shoot first, but it will only deal 4 damage to the opposing base. I'm off by 1. So we'll go ahead and do it. Shoot first into the base, but it only does 4. So that is going to be game over for me. It's going to be game over for me. All he has to do is attack. Yep, and Alino is going to get the win there. My apologies to Loopee if he watches this footage. I was not playing his deck at maximum efficiency. It ended up being close, but I made a few blunders, and Alino did get the win, ultimately going 2-1 in this matchup. Now I need to make sure he actually is playing Surprise Strike because it'd be really embarrassing if I was. Wow, he doesn't have Surprise Strike in his deck. Frickin' rip. I was playing around a card that I thought was crucial in 3X, and it's not in the deck at all. Well, that's kinda what you get when you're that's kinda what you get sometimes when you're playing a deck you're not familiar with. I wonder if it's in sideboard or something. Surprise Strike is just such a good card. And here we're showing each other the cards available. He had Bosk, Waylay, and Inferno 4. I had Bosk, a Spacer, and Fifth Brother. All right. Wasn't quite able to get there. Having Surprise Strike in the deck might have helped, but my fault for not looking at my own deck before playing. Congratulations to Alino for going 2-1 in this kind of unusual best of 3. That's going to do it for this one, guys. Thanks to y'all for watching, and we'll be back later with some more Star Wars Unlimited content. I will catch you guys later.